Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video of a game that I played just recently of one of the strangest openings that I've ever seen, getting me to a new peak. Let's get into it. My opponent starts off the game with d4. I go knight f6. This is, of course, a way to play. My opponent goes c4, e6. I'm looking for a Nimso Indian. That's kind of the whole point, right? My opponent goes a3. That's a move. Already a little strange out the gate, right? I don't think I've seen a3 a couple times, just literally preventing bishop b4, but it's kind of an overcommitment. Like knight f3 and going for the Nimso Indian lines are better, but I understand why he wouldn't want to do that since I have lots of prep in these lines. But if you wanted to stop the Nimso Indian, why wouldn't you just play, like, I don't know, this? Like, just play something normal, and I think that we're fine. A3 is just such a strange move, and already I'm a little testy. I go d5, and now the move on move 4, the reason why I made this video in the first place, he plays the move c5. And I am confused. I am so confused. Alright? Because c5, what it does, I don't think I've like ever seen this move before in a game ever, because it's bad. What it does, right? He's trying to play this. He's trying to play b4 and get some sort of like thing on the queen side here, and he's trying to lock out my dark sword bishops for someone like under like 1800 or something. The move seems super normal, but the reason why it's bad is it just kind of allows me to immediately advance with my pawns with b6 and stuff, and try to like continue to start an attack with like something like this, and then these pawns are weak, his center collapses, I get the center, and then I just have a comfortable game for the rest of the game. So something like b6, he goes b4, I can go like a5. We get into some weird structures. Here the only move is bishop b2, for example. Like literally everything else is minus 1.8. And we get into some weird stuff like ab here, rook a1. Yeah, it's something like this, and then I blow open the center, and I get my knight in. This is like the type of position that we're going for, and as you can see, this type of structure is normally pretty bad for the one who has all these extended pawns, because now I have control of the center. He can't play f3, for example, because of simple queen h4, and I'm just doing a lot better. And that's why this kind of shocked me immediately, this c5 idea. And I already spent like 30 seconds on move 4, which is kind of insane. And I didn't play the best move. I got in my head a little bit. The reason why I didn't play b6, which is the best move, as you can see. The reason why I didn't play b6 is because I thought that he could have some counterplay. Yes, b4 makes sense. And yeah, it's a very logical move. But b4, I didn't really see what I could do. Like after a5, I thought that he could just do whatever and just relax. Like after a5 bishop b2, I thought that he could just relax, and I didn't really see this e5 idea later on here. I didn't see this idea where I blast open the center and I get my knight in, because losing a pawn it makes sense after you see it with the engine, but it's a little bit confusing and it's a little hard to see, and that's why I didn't find it. So I ended up not playing b6, and I got in my head about it, and I ended up playing this move a5. Right, pretty reasonable, right? I noticed his idea. He wants to play b4, so what I do, I just stop that. I just stop b4, and I thought this made a lot of sense. He can't play queen a4 because of, I thought, bishop d7, which is fine, but actually c6 is even better. And yeah, my position is just, I thought my position was pretty good, and I thought that he did some wacky stuff. So my opponent thought here for a little bit, played the move knight c3. Of course, reasonable. I don't really see any reason not to. But now I thought is a perfect time. I'm just going to develop my pieces, right? I go bishop e7. I'm getting my bishop out to this diagonal. I'm keeping everything together. I'm trying to make it a normal game as much as possible, because I want to have like some semblance of control in the opening at all times. I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing, and my opponent is the one that has to like keep up. So I'm trying to keep it normal, keep it like pretty easy for me to play, so then I don't have to spend a lot of time in the opening. Very, very normal stuff, right? Very normal stuff. That's what really you should do. And my opponent immediately tries to go for my neck and plays this move, rook b1. And now it becomes clear that he's gonna play b4. It becomes clear he's gonna play b4. I can't stop it anymore. If I go here, he probably goes b4. No, actually not. This is bad for him. What is the idea? Oh, I'm gonna play e5. Ah, yeah, e5, and then I'm better. But like, for example, he can, like, for example, if I go like here, he can play, I don't know, he can just relax, play something like bishop f4, stop e5 first, maybe something like knight f3 first, stop e5, and then he's gonna play b4. So like, I can't stop the b pawn from moving there. I can't stop that. If I go a5, I just lose a pawn, right? So I'm not gonna be doing that. And I mean a4, I just lose a pawn. So what I do, I decide, okay, I don't think castling is the right move. Why don't I just develop my pieces? I go bishop d7. Another wrong move. The reason why this is wrong is because it's just a little slow. My bishop doesn't have any scope here, and my bishop is actually doing work on c8 to defend this pawn. So what I should have done, should have just castled in like 2 seconds. But I played bishop d7 pretty, yeah, like 10 seconds. Which is fine. It's decent time management. But this isn't the right move. This isn't the right move, and I should have realized that. It's just not. There's not much to really say. Like, intuition just says it's not. Like, I have to go c6 and start like blowing open. I have to be faster, basically. That's the idea. So bishop d7 is a little slow, and my opponent goes b4. All right. We get into this position, right? This is his idea. His idea was b4. And we're gonna try and beat him here. He knows that he's trying to get this position to some like weird and wacky like structure type thing with like maybe some like Benko Gambit style type thing where not really Benko Gambit because these pawns are probably going to be traded and we're going to have the files open. Benko Gambit is when black sacrifices the A and B pawns and white still has them, so black has the pressure. But we're probably going to get into some interesting lines where we have the A and B files open, and the position opens up pretty quickly after AB. Now I play the move B6. I'm a little late, right? A little late. I have to attack this pawn structure. I don't mind that he gets two versus 1 over here because my pieces actually do a lot of work in stopping that, so I don't mind that. He goes E3, and I go BC5, and he decides to play BC5. And this is the position that we have out of the opening. And this position already, let's just take stock of a few things. This position is already super weird. For instance, my knight and my rook are still are kind of undeveloped. My knight can develop like weirdly. It's kind of weird for my knight to develop. I don't really like the knight going to c6, and it's kind of hard for my knight to find a place. Knight a6, I don't even see what it does really. Knight a6 can be c6 here and here, but then again, I just lose a pawn in that line. My rook is kind of active, but it's weird again, and it's kind of hard for my queen to get. And if I go like here and here, and I try to do something like that, then my knight doesn't have any squares, and it's already just a little strange, right? So I'm gonna try and keep it pretty normal. And I thought, okay, you know what? I could try to figure out the position of the universe. I could try to make everything happen here, and I could like try and develop my pieces accurately, or I could just play a move that really I don't think there's any issue with. I could just castle, and this is the top engine line. I could just castle and wait for him to play his move. Now what I'm doing, I'm waiting for him to put his cards on the table first, and then I'm gonna strike. Then I'm gonna put my knights in the center. Then I'm gonna try and get everything together. The other line was actually knight c6. Everything else is bad. It's either knight c6 or castles, but castles is the best move because you're waiting for him to make a move, and then you're gonna act. But knight c6 is another way to look at things. I could have done that, but I would rather let him commit first. So castles. My opponent goes knight f3. Pretty reasonable. I decide I don't really have anything else, so I'm going to go knight c6. I thought about this move knight e4, but I didn't like it because I just thought that my pawn was weak and I didn't really want to play f5. I thought like maybe he could have some play over here with these pawns, and it could be a little awkward, like probably knight e5, something like this. He gets this in, maybe bishop maybe bishop a4, I guess, be active. And I guess the position's pretty interesting, but it doesn't make the most sense to me. Like, maybe not queen d2, maybe like something like queen g4 and f5. Like this is interesting, but then again, like these pawns can be kind of scary in some lines, and I just didn't like this, so I didn't go for that, and I kind of just superficially evaluated that, but that was, it's fine. I played the second best move. I played knight c6, simply developing my knight, preventing him from going here, which is one of my ideas. I thought that bishop b5 could be an option, and then I might play like rook b8 and try to like snipe him along this file. I wanted to make sure that like there's some like problems over here. So I want to get my queen out this way. I want to try and get something to happen. Of course, not right now because the bishop wouldn't grab that square. But I just have to make something happen, right? So my opponent plays bishop d3. Okay, he's developing his bishop. There's no Greek gifts because, first of all, my bishop controls this square, my knight controls this square, so I don't have to worry about that. So I thought the only reason to play this move was to like castle, maybe start an attack in some lines. But for now, I'm safe, so I didn't really have to bother. I decided to play this move rook b8, which is the best move. Idea being, if he comes here, then I get this much better file. I get squares for my knight now, and I can immediately target the bishop that he put here. I can get my bishop out, I can get my pawn out, I can get this going, and I can just already have a monster advantage, and I know that I would. So yeah, if he plays this, I feel like I'm better. Like I feel like this position is probably better for black, even though in a human standpoint it is, but in an engine standpoint it's probably okay. Instead, he decides to castle, and I decide to trade the rooks. I thought that this was smart because I don't like this rook, and I want to get my queen in. And the only way to get my queen in is to do something like this. So rook b1, my opponent takes back with a bishop. Pretty reasonable. His knight has to be in the center to do anything. His bishop is a long-range piece, so that makes a lot of sense to take back with the bishop. And I decided to go with this move, queen a8. And the idea, right, the reason I didn't play like queen b8 or something so silly like this, queen b8 looks interesting, like I'm getting in, but now this rook is kind of stuck. And why queen a8 is better is because the queen still controls one of these files, which is important, but now my rook can come over to control these files as well. Very important, right? And my knight's coming in, my bishops are coming in. My dark squared bishop is probably my worst piece, but it's still a pretty decent piece, and my knight might be able to go to e4 in some future lines. So this is what I'm trying to do. My opponent goes h3. A reasonable, just more of a waiting move, trying to continue to make left for his king, which I thought. I didn't think there was any point in going g4 because my king is pretty safe and he's kind of weakening himself too much. So I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. So I just played rook b8. And I thought, okay, you know what? My rook and my queen are really, really nice here. Everything's going well. My queen's going to come up here. I'm going to target both these pieces that are guarding each other, and I'm going to try and win the game. There's nothing wrong with that. I like winning games, so we're going to try and do that. Perfect. My opponent goes g4. And now, I have to think for a while. I have to think for a little bit here. My opponent obviously knows the opening better than I do, right? He's the one who played the c5 idea, and he's the one at 9 minutes while I'm at 7:40. He knows this opening a lot better than I do, and this might be like some idea in the future. This might be like some like common opening idea, and I have to make sure that it's not really. I have to make sure that it's not. He obviously wants to play g5. You can't play h4 because of this pawn hanging, and there's not really any tactics. If his knight comes back, I can actually just bring my knight back. Knight comes back, opening up the queen and attacking this pawn. I can just bring my knight back, defending this pawn. If the queen comes in like this, now just h6. Actually, not h6 because this pawn hangs. But, you know the draw. Actually, my bad. That was silly. If there's this, I take with the bishop. He takes with the queen. I come back to f6 probably. And I'm doing better. Either way, that doesn't happen. I decide that there's nothing over there. I play knight a5. And I'm basically saying, okay, you know what? Your bishop was on d3. Now it's not. I'm going to put my knight on c5. It looks like a very good square for my knight. It kind of controls a lot of squares in his position. And this dark squared bishop is kind of dominated permanently. and I can make some progress. I still need to get my Darkstone Bishop out. That's a thing in the future, but it's kind of tricky to do right now because I need to get this bishop out, then play c6, then do this, and then get this bishop out. So it's going to be a little while before I get my Darkstone Bishop out, but I'm still going to try and do it, right? My opponent goes knight e5, hitting my light squared bishop. If he takes my light squared bishop, I thought this was bad. I thought I couldn't really allow that. Like, the second... I can probably play this move knight c4 is the second engine move, but now I thought that actually here he has this move g5, and I have to take, and get this position, which is pretty bad for me. I just thought that I couldn't let him like target my light sword bishop, but I dodged any tactics either way. And I thought that my bishop was better on e8, which it is. It is better on e8. Now it defends this pawn permanently, so there's no like queen h4 ideas after my knight moves in the future, right? And also, I have this move knight d7 whenever I want, right? To kick out his knight, which is important. So now he continues with the attack, f4. And I'd be lying if I said this isn't scary. This is a pretty scary attack. I have to make sure that everything's okay. But I mess up. But here I mess up. And the game would be perfect, except for like a couple inaccuracies in the opening if I didn't play this move. Like, I did play this game pretty well. But I mess up. What I could have done here, I could have just played some move that doesn't really make any problems. First of all, knight e4 is the best move, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why I would want this pawn here, in all honesty. It looks kind of weak. But, like, I could just play knight d7. Like, I know this move is okay. It kicks the knight out. But I was thinking, wait, why knight d7? He gets his knight here, right? And now what he's accomplished, now he has these pawns coming. And it looks like he's just improved his position, and I've made my position worse, right? So I didn't really want to play that, so I wanted to keep going forward. And I ended up playing a mistake, which the engine thinks is fine, actually. I played knight c4, where under like a high depth, under a low depth, the engine hates this move. I think this is plus 0.5, but at a high depth, the engine kind of likes this move. And the reason being is because after takes, which just happens in the game, now my queen opens up. My rook opens up, my knight comes in here, my light squared bishop opens up, and then this bishop can actually come over here and make problems. So I thought, you know what? This move, even though it might weaken my c4 pawn permanently, right, my c4 pawn is like always weak, you know what? His king is pretty weak. His king sucks. His king is about to like get mated here, with all of these diagonals opening up, and my pieces have just gotten into their best points. I think that, in all honesty, I think that if the engine is able to think a bit more, let's see that. If the engine is thinking a bit more, let me turn this on. Let's put it to 5 seconds. I think this is probably better for black. Okay, it's not. Okay, I'm gonna turn that back down because my computer can't run like this. But depth 23 says it's fine. Depth 23 says it's equal. Either way. I still think that this is, to a human, terrifying. To a human, I think this is a terrifying position, and there's already only one move. And it's this move queen c2. Queen c2 is the only move. The reason being is because, first of all, it makes threats. It makes this threat, which is terrifying because it threatens checkmate. And it threatens my knight, right? And my knight defends checkmate. So I have to go g6. Let's say he plays something else. I don't know. He'll play something here. And bishop a2 is the only move attacking this pawn, actually. And then, like, rook b4. Now my pieces have gotten a little bit cramped. And the position looks a little more in the balance, but still very dynamic, right? So I have to do something like that. But instead, after dc4, my opponent doesn't find queen c2. He doesn't find the second best move either, which is bishop c2, which is actually minus 0.5. He doesn't find the third best move either, which is rook f2, which is minus 0.7. He finds a pretty bad move, queen e2. And now the advantage balloons. The idea of queen e2, it's pretty easy. The idea of queen e2 wants to go this, lock down my position. He wants to stop me from getting what I want, right? Wants to stop all this because now because if he's able to play this move e4, then my queen gets cut off, everything gets cut off, and all that. But what I thought here, and I thought this pretty quickly. Okay, he's also attacking this pawn. Pretty low key though, not very important. I thought this pretty quickly. I was like, okay, you know what's important? This bishop is still under attack. This bishop is still under attack by my rook, and now my knight can come into this very nice square d5. And I'm like, you know what? Let's get two birds with one stone. Let's threaten to take the knight and stop protecting the rook, stop protecting the bishop, and put my knight on the better square, knight d5. Pretty easy stuff, right? Pretty easy stuff. Now there's no queen c2. Now, if queen c2 happened, I wouldn't have this move because it would be check and mate, right? So now, that's why queen c2 was so good, because it stopped all that. If he plays queen c2 here, it probably could work still, but I'm doing good with g6, and now my pieces are just pretty good. Like bishop d2, everything is defended, but now I just have a crushing advantage. So it's already super hard to play. In fact, I thought the only move was knight d5, and then I was even going to take back with the e pawn, but I thought even probably queen d5 was better, because now he can't play this because I take here, and my bishops get into play. My bishops get into play like this, right? And my pieces are better. Unfortunately, he seems to miss it. And this game would be a lot more fun for me if he played on a little bit more, because I really like these positional games where I'm able to like outplay my opponent the whole time. This game would be a lot more fun if he found the right move, but he doesn't, and instead doesn't even acknowledge my threat and plays queen c4. And the game ends pretty. Actually, the game doesn't end pretty quickly here. I have to play a couple more accurate moves, but now I have a crushing advantage after knight c3. He decides to capture on h7, which is smart, desperadoing the bishop. I recapture, he recaptures. I'm only up 1 point of material, but I'm winning because his king is so weak. His bishop kind of sucks being blocked by all these pawns here. He can't come out this way. My dark square bishop finally gets in the game. Which is very nice. But first I decided, you know what? My queen is still on a8. My queen is kind of not participating in the action. He might give me some checks on the light squares. You know what? Queen e4. That seems very smart, right? Queen e4. Now bishop c6 has a threat of checkmate, which is cool. And now my bishop can come in and like harass him a little bit more. He can't play e4. He can't get his bishop out in like any meaningful way. My rook can come down to b1, and I'm pretty easily winning this game, which is what I thought. My opponent goes queen d2. Okay, he's trying to maybe trade queens with me. Very reasonable. I decided to go with not the best move. I should have played bishop c6. I should have played bishop c6 pretty quickly, because now this is pretty scary. Like king h2 and now bishop h4, and then I'm doing very well. But I didn't do that. I played a little bit of an inaccuracy. I played some bishop h4 instead, which I thought couldn't be too bad because I'm getting my bishop into play. But it's not the right move. It's just not the right move. I shouldn't have done this. I should have probably respected the fact that he was going to offer me a queen trade, which he does pretty quickly, queen g2. And what I wanted to do, I just kind of wanted to checkmate him here. But there's not really any way to do that. So I ended up, I didn't want to play bishop c6 either because I didn't think that was very smart. I ended up taking on g2, which is the best move. But it's not the style of game I wanted, which is a little rough. That's kind of why I should have played bishop c6 first, because then he's kind of butchered and I'm doing quite well. Instead, bishop h4, queen g2, I take. My opponent has to recapture, and I play bishop c6 now. And now my position is doing good. My rook is coming in here. My rook might be coming in here as well. There's some tactics on his dark sword bishop, and I thought maybe even there's some tactics on his rook, which is nice. He comes back to g1. I go bishop b5, hitting his rook. He can't come up because then the rook is trapped, actually, which I thought was cool because all the squares are taken. This isn't even the best move, which is kind of funny. But the rook is trapped there, which I thought, okay, you know what? If the rook is trapped, I win. He has to go here. And there's actually no way to trap the rook, which is a little annoying. I can go here, and play this move and like get into this position, but I didn't think this was very smart. Trading down to an endgame where he has 2 pawns for the bishop. I didn't think this was very smart, so I didn't do that. And I ended up repeating it a little bit. I go bishop a4. He can't move the rook up because then I have rook b1 winning the bishop. So he can't do that. So we repeat moves once, and then I go rook b1. And now I'm basically arguing, you know what? This bishop is not the worst bishop in the world because it's stopping me from getting this pawn, which I thought was pretty useful for him, very very like necessary for him. And I thought, okay, I can't really trade rooks. Like if he after he plays his move bishop d2, I'm like, okay, this is a terrible move. This would be an example of a bad move because what happens? I'm still winning. But now I'm winning less, right? Now I'm winning less. I have to like work harder for it. I have to play like moves like g5, sack the pawn, king g6 or something, and get into some weird play. Actually, bishop c6 would be a knockout punch here, but I just couldn't really make myself do that because I thought, why am I allowing him so much play? This seems stupid and dumb, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I didn't do that. I didn't trade the rooks there. Instead, my idea was to get on the second rank. My idea was to play this move rook b2 because now he can't play this because my bishop defense. He can't play this because my bishop defense, and now I'm gonna get in. He goes bishop e1. I'm forced to trade, and I'm like, okay, bishop c6, game over. I'm threatening this move, which is a game over. He can't go here because of this, and I win the rook. And he can't go to the other side because I thought, at the very least, I'm getting this move, picking up this pawn, which I thought was very important. And I immediately know that I'm winning. I'm winning this game. My opponent goes e4, and now I go rook d2, and I'm picking up a pawn. And this is the whole point. Now I'm winning perfectly. I could have been winning like substantially. I could have been winning well, but now I'm winning correctly. And that's the main point. That's what a lot of people don't understand. You have to make sure that your opponent doesn't get any counterplay. In a winning position, the biggest thing for you to do is stop your opponent. Stop your opponent from doing what they want to do. If you allow them to like get some play and like have some like attack on your king, then they have some chances. But in this position, I just completely mow down him, lock him down. He goes king f1. I take on d4. These pawns are hanging. He has no way to defend them. He goes here. I take on e4. Now I can absolutely trade the rooks because I'm up just a full bishop and there's nothing he can do. He goes king e3, bishop back to g2. I come here. Now my king gets in. His king comes back and I go check. King up. He comes here. I decide to take because his king still can't get in. I take here. I thought, okay, you know what? I'm winning in every endgame. I go fg. Takes, and then my king just wins the race. I just have to be a little careful not to hang my pawn, but I just move it up to a light square. My bishop defends, and in this position, my opponent resigns because I know how to win this, and I think he understood that. This game was a very interesting game. It started off in one of the weirdest openings I've ever seen with this move c5, which is ridiculous, and it got into some incredible like things here with these 2 files being open, which is just something you never really see in a lot of these games. And it was a very interesting like way of playing. It was a very interesting way of playing here, and I'm proud that I did it correctly. I played this game at 93.8% accuracy, which is pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty proud of that. And in all honesty, I'm just feeling pretty good about myself. I did well, and I hope you enjoyed the game. I hope you found this instructive. I hope you found this entertaining. And if you did, remember to like, subscribe to the normal things that YouTubers tell you to do. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. Good evening and good night.